Westbrook does a great job of one-handed, left-handed pass. Face deep, looks on his side. He doesn't leave. Westbrook
Jr. is checked in. Warriors stay with the same 5 starters. And Steph Curry hitting the wing jumper. Yes, drops it in that 3. Oh, Curry, little split. Steph through it. Steph with the lift. So Steph Curry, beautiful beginning. The turnover. Point trip down. Free throws and 3-point play. Curry right down the lane. How about that?
What's up, everybody? Win Daily Sports Fantasy Firebox. I love it. I love the Saturday and Sunday mornings, picking up a ton of momentum. Welcoming everybody. I really appreciate everybody who is tuning in, watching on replay. Whatever the case may be, it's a Saturday morning. It's not raining like it was last morning, okay? But here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's fantasy time. You know, it's a little dark right here. Hold on. I gotta turn the light on in the studio. I don't have all the lights on. Hold on for a second. There we go. Yeah. I gotta let you guys see the memorabilia behind me, right? But let me start off by saying, number one, we are on an absolute roll right now. Again, follow Win Daily Sports, YouTube, Instagram, website, Twitter, you name it. We are giving out picks every day, whether it be lineups, whether it be picks, values. It's so much fun. I love interacting with the audience. And we are on a bender right here. We're on a heater, okay? Fantasy Firebox value play today. I talked about this about 2 weeks ago for everybody tuning in. FFVP. Okay, that's what we're naming this. Fantasy Firebox Value Play. And each day, I'm throwing this guy out there, a guy that is under 3,500 that I think that can really help your lineups out. It's low risk, high reward, right? We're 4 for 4 right now. 4 for 4, so I'm feeling it. So I can't wait to throw that player out there today. I actually have a couple, but I have to pick one. So, we'll see where we go. But last night, it was Jonathan India. Cincinnati Reds, okay, $2,800. What's he do against a really good matchup out there? In that lineup, Castellanos, his value dropped to 3,900. It was time to pounce. Okay, so I thought about it, looking at Suarez's value drop, but India was in a good spot. He bet 7th in that lineup, a lot of protection around him, and I just thought, you know what? If you look at his consistent numbers, 20 points in the last 2 weeks, because that's what I look at, consistent numbers. Let me see what you're actually doing. I'm throwing everything out the window. I want to see what you do week to week, game to game. That's what I'm trying to look at, and India, for me, was a guy. 2 nights ago, Jonathan Shoup from Detroit. Okay, another guy, and again, these aren't guys I'm just taking out of the, taking off the wall here. If you look back and you followed me for in the preseason, I was on Jonathan Shoup. Okay, and I continue to be on Jonathan Shoup. Now, the difference is with Jonathan Shoup, his value is going to start to skyrocket. I was playing Jonathan Shoup at 2,500, and now yesterday he was 3,800, and after last night's 42-point output, he's probably going to be at least over 4,000 today. So now it's a matter of, are we chasing too many points with Jonathan Shoup? Really good at a specific price point, but once he gets too high, you really have to be careful. So let's go over some lines. We got, I think, about 9 games that started 2:15, 6 games tonight like we do. And I want to talk a little football as well, because football's starting to ramp up. It's June now, after Memorial Day. Everybody start talking football. So half of this show is going to start to be football related because we have to talk about the ADPs, the early ADPs that are coming out, okay? Because that's the most important thing right now. The early ADPs that are coming out are blowing me away, and I need some help with it. So let's look. We had a really good night last night, by the way. So really good night. And again, I want to preface this by saying this. I don't do lineups, okay? That's not what I do. What I do is I have more fun. Everybody's different. You listen, guys like Tulak, these guys on Win Daily, they pick tremendous lineups. We got Ghost in the NBA tricking tremendous lineups. See it doing ridiculous PGA lineups as well, right? They're all doing lineups. I like to do players. What I like to do is I like to take different players from different matchups, explain to you why I like them, and then let you pick and choose who you want to throw in your lineup. I have a couple people, whether it be through Discord, whether it be through Twitter, hit me up or like, yo, what do you think about this lineup? I like this. I took 3 of your guys and I put them in with 3 of my guys, and boom. Last night, same thing. One of the guys that follows me, we go back and forth. He throws Stevenson in there, the catcher from Cincinnati. What do you think? Listen, I like the Cincinnati bats tonight. He gets a home run, gives him 14 to 18, right? I mean, for 2,600, it's a great way to mix it up and have a little fun. Now, what I will say, last night, I didn't pay up for Max Scherzer. I didn't pay up for Zach Wheeler. A lot of people were in on Wheeler and Scherzer. But what I will tell you, what I did was a little something different. What I like to do, I don't like to always chase those big money arms. So I actually got more money, more points for my money by taking the lesser guys, okay? So last night, we started, my 2 guys were Peralta and Ohtani, right? They were the 2 guys I wanted. Because, I looked at their value. Ohtani was like 7,600. Absolute steal, right? Why pay 11.4 for Max Scherzer when you could drop down $3,500 to take Ohtani? Now, it all depends on how you formulate your lineup, right? Again, I'm not doing the lineups, but I really like the values of those guys. Well, Peralta is a big strikeout pitcher, so I really like the schematics of that. I talk about Lucky 13, and we're going to get into that when I do the lineups, or when I do the picks, because I look at innings pitched, I look at strikeouts. That's all I look at. And if they're above 13, I zone in, I go against opponent's batting average, see what the field conditions are, where they're playing, is a hitter-friendly park or not, and then I kind of pound. So last night was Ohtani and Peralta, did very well. My big lumber guy I picked was Austin Meadows. Listen, I was trying to ride the hot streak. It all comes down to the end, but that's okay. It gives you a quick 5, not what you want for 5,500, but hey, it is what it is. You know what? He'll probably pick it back up today, but you can't be perfect, people. You just can't be perfect. Like the Oakland stack, we went with the Coors Field advantage with Matt Olson and Seth Brown. Listen, respectively, about 20 points between the two. Not terrible. Wanted a little more, but value plays, we did really good. Castellanos, value play, it was 3,900. Ke'Bryan Hayes, been huge Ke'Bryan Hayes guy. I was on Ke'Bryan Hayes in the preseason. I really liked him in Pittsburgh. I said, you know what? This kid is going to be electric. He's got all the tools. He didn't stay healthy, but he comes back after 1 game 2 nights ago, and then last night just goes off. 25-plus points, huge value. And Brandon Crawford, right? Only giving you 7, but here's a guy, 3,700. So, again, if I'm looking at value guys, my baseline is 7 to 10. 7 to 10 points. Because if you're looking at value, you're not going to pay a lot, right? So it's a low risk, high reward. And if the guy it drops down and gives you below 7, you know what? What do you really lose? Because if you pick the right guys above him, it's not going to hurt you. But if he grabs you at 10, it's really going to help as long as those big guys produce. And obviously the sleeper was Jonathan India. We already talked about that. Huge game for 2,800. How can you beat that? So let's see what we can do tonight and see if we can get that value play today. Value play of the day, right? Joe, what's up, Joe? And Joe's one of the guys to talk about. We go back and forth. He does a sprinkle of his own, does a sprinkle of mine, does a sprinkle, and that's what this is all about. Take a couple players here and there, put them together, and boom, let's cash. So we had some really good picks last night. We're going to try to do the same thing again. I got a really interesting value play today. We're going to go 5 for 5. I'm swinging for the fences here today, people. I am swinging for the fences. Okay, so let's look at the lineups, and I'm going to be honest with you. We're doing this live. Okay, we're gonna go through this live. I basically picked a couple guys here and there, but we're gonna go through this together for about the next, I'll say 20 minutes. We'll go through both slates, and then we're going to talk some wide receivers in football, because somebody got to tell me why my man D-Hop isn't getting the love anymore. Somebody's got to tell me why DeAndre Hopkins is not getting the love. So we're going to get into that a little later. So let's get into this first slate right here, and let's see what we got, because I think both slates have some really good pitching matchups. They really do. So I think, let's look at right now, who we're going to look at from the arms. And all I did was I threw a couple arms in there, okay? So I think, without a doubt, Brandon Woodruff is your guy, for the first slate, 215. Against the Arizona team who strikes out a lot. Strikeout percentage is pretty high. They don't have tremendous power on the team. They have decent power. We're at Milwaukee. And if you just pull up Woodruff's numbers and see what he's been able to do, he's very, very consistent. I mean, we're talking about, I preach this, and Joe knows this as well because he said it to me. I preach consistency in numbers, right? That's what I mainly look at. When I'm looking at whether it be pitchers, batters, doesn't matter. I want consistency. I don't want 12, 0, 35, 22. That's not yes, you can pick them as a streamer if you get the really good matchup, and there's going to be certain guys like that. Maybe like a Dylan Bundy, you pick out that really good game that you think he's going to go up. That's fine. But on a night-to-night basis, that's why a lot of my guys stay the same, because I like consistency. And listen, Brandon Woodruff, is he just a model of consistency from a pitcher standpoint? 4 of the last 5 games, he's over 35, or he's over 30, right? He's just over 30. He's consistently giving you 30. And the biggest thing is not just looking at the fantasy points, look at his innings pitched. 7, 7, 7, 7. That's what you need to look at. Okay, 7, 7, 7, 7. That's consistency, right? He's consistently going deep in games. 106, 100, 98, 98, 103. These are the kind of things I look at. And look at double those strikeouts, 3 out of the past 5. Right? That's a huge number. 10, 11, 10. I mean, he had one game against Kansas City where he only had 4, right? But again, even with that, he gave you 20 points. Or 19-1, so just rounded up to 20, right, for 10,000. It's not terrible. He's not like he's throwing clunkers out there. So Brandon Woodruff, to me today, I think he's got to be in the lineup. I always pick 2 aces, 2 guys that I stand by for their value. Again, last night was Ohtani and Peralta. Today's going to be Brandon Woodruff is my number 1, and Jose Barrios. Okay, I like Barrios today. I really do, and I'll tell you why. Again, this is kind of matchup contended a little bit. Okay, Kansas City absolutely blew their load last night, right? I mean, they just went off. What's the odds that Kansas City's going to do that again today against a really good 4 to 5 pitch pitcher, right? What are the odds? And again, consistency. I'm preaching it again. 25, 23, 21, right? Over the last 3 games, he's consistently in the 20s. And again, his value has actually gone down a little bit. So I'm going to jump on in. He goes to 25, right? Goes 8 innings. Okay, 6 carries. I'm above my lucky 13 number. Okay, so we're at 14. 8 plus 6 is 14. 101 pitches, 106, 103, 104. I mean, this guy is the model of consistency when it comes to pitch count, right? So he's going to go deep in games. He has very, very good stuff. Okay, that's why his ERA is 3.36, right? So that's what I look at. So in this perspective, with Kansas City really going off last night, I think they hit, again, the Phillies scored 17 runs a couple nights ago, and everybody was like, oh, could they have saved more for the next game, right? and that's the truth. Could they save more, right? And again, I think that's going to be the case of Kansas City. I think it's a really good spot for Barrios today. I expect, in my opinion, 6 to 7, maybe even 8 strikeouts today, go about 7 to 8 innings, giving you a good 25 points for your fantasy matchup. And again, I think, 8,700, right? So you look at the pitchers, okay? Again, everybody can jump on the Lucas wagon because, listen, I understand why, but here's what I'm looking at. He went back-to-back at 13 and 12, right? And only gave you a 20. So he gives you that 38, 39, but he's also 9,500. So for me, I'm going to go with a more consistent number with Brandon Woodruff, who, okay, get, 10-3, 95. What are we talking about? $800. But you take the $800 savings, and then you drop down with Jose Barrios at 8,700, who's probably about 500 less than the next number 2 pitcher. Now you're $1,300 that you have to spend on your lineup. So that's one of the ways I'm looking at this. So Woodruff and Barrios, I think, are really, really good plays, from the pitching perspective. Now, let's look at the hitters, okay? I don't want to go game by game. There's a couple games that stand out to me, okay? Detroit-Chicago game and the Houston-Toronto game are 2 games that are really sticking out, in my opinion, I think, because, even Tampa Bay, Texas, but I think there's an expectation that there should be a lot of good offensive numbers in these games. So you take, for instance, let's look at the Detroit and Chicago game. Now, are we that sold? Are we that sold on Tariq Skubal? I mean, listen, strikeout numbers have looked good, right? 8, 9, 9, 8. I get it, right? And he's actually been a decent pitcher from a fantasy perspective. But here's what I'm looking at today. Look at the home runs. 1, 2, 3, 5. 5 home runs in 6 games, right? 5 home runs in 6 games. He lets up the long ball, and he's been doing it with frequency, right? So I think this is the time when he's facing the Chicago White Sox lineup that is full of really good bat potential, really good power. So I think this is the time that I wouldn't say I would stack 3 to 4 players on the Chicago White Sox, but I think this is a day where, number one, Tim Anderson has to be in the lineup. Okay, Tim Anderson for me has to be in today's lineup, 100%. And he's under 5,000, right? That's the biggest part. He's under 5,000. 4,800. Now, if you pull up Tim Anderson's numbers, you hear me always say checks all the boxes, right? So I like that because he walks, he scores runs, he steals bases. He's got 3 multi-hit games in the last 5. People, I don't understand why his number is dropping. Okay, I absolutely love Tim Anderson today. Okay, and if he's under 5,000, I'm jumping all over him. He's got 2 double-digit games. He essentially has 3 because he had a 9 in the past 5 as well. So I think now he did go up 200 from 46 to 48. I think probably because of the pitching matchup, and probably because they are home against Detroit, who is one of the worst teams in the league. Right, we all understand that. But Tim Anderson does a lot. So today, for me, I'm just gonna throw him in there so we don't forget. Tim Anderson is part of my core today, 100%. We always talk cores, give you 3 core guys. I would say Tim Anderson is 100% part of my core. Now, if you're looking for power in the Chicago White Sox lineup, listen, Moncada is really good, but I'm calling this a Jose Abreu day. I think Jose Abreu goes yard today. I did one of those home runs. Obviously, Tim Anderson, I'm taking as an all-around guy, but I think Jose Abreu, for me, is the go-long guy for the Chicago White Sox against Skubal today. So that's where I'm going with that, because I look at he's been susceptible to the long ball over the past 5. So for me, Jose Abreu, 100% lock him in. Now, let's look at this, see if we can find any value for the Chicago White Sox, because this is what I do. When I find a good pitcher I want to go up against, what I try to do is I look to see if I can find some really good value in this lineup. So let's look right now. You go down, we go to look at my man. Can we just give my man a little love here? Can we just give my man a little love? Okay, let's give our man Jonathan Schoop a little love here. Okay, we got to do it. Now, this is intriguing to me. Okay, and this is where I would have to ask DraftKings what their logic is, right? To explain to me what your logic is. And you know what? 3,500, you have to have Jonathan Schoop in your lineup today. I don't care if he's going up against Luka or not. Doesn't matter. Okay, because just look at what he's been able to do for LA. Yes, he has a 0. I understand, right? But 44 last night, 35 2 nights ago, 8, 12, 21, 14. Listen, guys, these are numbers below 3,500. So I'm going to continually put Jonathan Schoop as a value play. Because to me, as long as he's below 3,500, he's always going to be a top-notch value play, no matter who the pitching matchup is. And again, yes, he may throw you a goose egg or a snowflake every now and then. But again, for under 3,500, as long as you're smart with your lineup, that's not going to hurt you, right? You could probably pick that up through a couple strikeouts and an innings pitched through one of your pitchers, right? So you have to look at that. So I'm telling you right now, I'm going to throw him in as a value. Jonathan Stewart's got to be a value play just by looking at his number, 3,500, right? He's got to be a value play to me. So for the Chicago White Sox, respectively, maybe today I talked about Jose Abreu going long. Maybe this could be a Jake Lamb go long day, right? Maybe this could be a Jake Lamb go long day because he only has one home run in the last 5. You know, he's a very streaky hitter. Okay, you just never know what you're going to get from him. But again, he works in a lineup that has a lot of consistency and a lot of protection, right, with the Chicago White Sox. So, and today against a pitcher that's susceptible to that long ball, again, look, he's got 2 14s, two double-digit point outputs, but because of that 5, his value drops. So for 3,400, I think, you know, looking at the White Sox specifically because of the matchup, we're just talking about White Sox value. I do like Jake Lamb. So I'm going to throw him in there just so we can remember to talk about him. And one of the secret sneaky guys I think that people aren't looking at is Billy Hamilton. Now, we all remember Billy Hamilton with the Reds, right? We all remember that. Billy Hamilton, as long as he can get, he's only 227. So again, and he's 3,600. So right now, a little too much money for my blood. I do like when he was around 2,700 to 3,000. I think he was an exceptional value. 3,600 for me is too high. But if he drops into that 3,300 range, I would pounce on Billy Hamilton because, again, there's a guy who can get on a base pass. He can wreak havoc a little bit. He's going to score some runs with those big dogs in the lineup like Anderson and Moncada and Abreu and Mercedes, right? He has that potential to be that cog in that lineup to kind of, even when Andrew Vaughn is on and Jake Lamb is hitting a long ball. So he's always going to be available to score a few runs. So Billy Hamilton, not for today, but if that number drops from 3,600 to about 32 or 33, I'm going to pounce on Mr. Hamilton. I do like him a lot. So let's look at some more value, not just from this game, but this is the game that I really like. Let's go to the Houston-Toronto game. Again, I like that game, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not a stripling guy, right? I'm not. So I think you've seen a really big offensive onslaught from the Houston Astros last night. So I think we can expect not as high of an output, but I think the same kind of production, in a lower range, but a little more, still be consistent. So I think we can get those hitters from Houston, okay, in the lineup today. And let's look, Carlos Correa to me, if you're not starting Carlos Correa for 4,100, you're absolutely insane. You're insane. Okay, that has to be 100% has to be a guy on your radar today. Okay, if you just look at Carlos Correa, or a simple fact that I get everybody to say he's coming on slow. He's only batting 277. He still has double-digit home runs, and I get he only has double-digit points in 2 of the last 5, but people, look, 18, 27, 11, 19. This is what he can do. Now, you watch, his number was 5,000, 5,200. He was actually up to 6,000 at one time. He's $2,000 less, coming off a 34-point output, double home run game. Okay, listen, he does everything. The walks is a big the walks is a big deal, okay, because that means you're getting consistent points on a power guy and a guy that does a lot, okay, to make up for that 1 or 2 strikeouts a game. It washes it out. So I look at that point as well. But Carlos Correa to me is one of the first guys that stood out for 4,100. So for me, Carlos Correa is another huge value guy. Let me take one of the guys out right now so I can put him in there. But Carlos Correa, to me, I think now Anderson obviously is in our core, okay, but Carlos Correa has got to be a big value guy. Now, if we go down the slate here, okay, because again, I am not on raw stripling. I'm not a stripling guy, okay, but I think Mlb Dfs got to be your guy. And I'll tell you why. Each of these games, so we have 2 games that I'm really looking at. It's the Houston-Toronto game, okay, and the Detroit-Chicago game. And I like to break down some value plays. So I think Diaz today, he could be really close to being my fantasy Firebox value play of the day. Okay, because I'm between 2 guys, and I might actually have, for the first time, have to go 2 today because I'm actually in love with a couple guys, and Diaz is one of those guys. Okay, so for me, I have to throw him out there because, and again, I'm going to take Abreu out because we talked about him. Okay, I'll give you the core, but in a little bit. But Diaz to me is number 1 a value play, and number 2, he's my fantasy football value play today. I'm really looking at that. I like that play. I think, yes, Kyle Tucker. It's funny. I was just getting to the outfielders in that game. He's another guy's underpriced. And Joe's looking at this just like I am. If you look at Kyle Tucker, 3,500, there's a lot of good value. Now, here's the thing. So think about it this way. If you look at Tim Anderson, who's 4,800, to me, underpriced. If you look at Carlos Correa, 4,100, underpriced. Kyle Tucker, 3,500, underpriced. Jonathan Schupp's a value at 3,500. Diaz at 3,300 as a value. Now you can see why, if you wanted to, which I'm not, but if you wanted to pay up for those big money arms, that's the kind of way you do it. You pay up for the big arms and you go for these underpriced guys that you know have a really good matchup. And again, this is all going by the pitching matchup. So yes, 100%. I'm against fraud stripling. I am, and I think Houston, tons of value. And I think Diaz 100% is on my radar as my FFV play of the day. Now, let's just go, and we're just going to go ultimate hitters. We're not going to go by a matchup because I want to give you guys, let's go together and build our core. So Tim Anderson, like I said, 100% in my core. Okay, now I'm telling you right now, one of the guys that I'm zoning in on, and I hate to do it because I'm a Philly guy, right? Hate to do it when you're a Philly guy. It's really hard, right? It's really, really hard to go against the grain here, right? But I have to do it. Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto to me has always been the guy. For my money, he was the number 1 guy coming in on my list. He was above Tatis. He was above Acuna, and everybody said I was nuts. And Juan Soto is finally starting to turn it on. It took him a little while, okay? Took him a little while, but he's getting there. He's got the average up. The power numbers are coming, right? The fantasy numbers, 34, 18, 14, right? He threw a 4 and a 9, and they're okay, but this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a really bad pitcher right now in Spencer Howard for the Philadelphia Phillies. Spencer Howard, to me, is not a guy that I'm in on at all. Okay, I've watched this kid. I want nothing but the best for him. I do, but again, he's just not it, right? He's not it. Hasn't given up a home run, right? But look at the walks. 7 walks in the past 2 games he's given up. 7 walks. Now, I get it. You're going to say, look at the earned runs. I'm not. Listen, here's my thing with Spencer Howard. He is not going to go deep into the game. I can tell you that right now. You can see right here, 66, 68. He's not going above 70 pitches. So what does that say? That means the bullpen that has been an absolute atrocity, okay, for the Philadelphia Phillies this year, okay, has to come in 5, 6, 7 inning potential and give you beach balls over the plate to absolutely hit. So I'm looking at this in 2 ways. Number 1, Spencer Howard, not sold on him. Not a good pitcher right now. Bullpen, really bad for the Philadelphia Phillies. Going to see a lot of work today. And number 3, how about the low, easy right field porch, just like the old Yankee Stadium in Citizens Bank Park, that just breeze home run to the left-handed batter, right? Ryan Howard made a living out of that. So today for me, Juan Soto is got to be in my core. Okay, so I'm going to put him in there right now. So we're going to see the core right now. We're starting off with Tim Anderson and Juan Soto in the core. Yeah, Howard gives up a ton of hard. You know why he gives up a ton of hard contact? Because he's a junk ball pitcher, right? I think he marks out at 88, 89 miles per hour. He throws a two-seamer for nothing crazy. He works on his slider a little bit, and his changeup needs a lot of work. So he's got that Jamie Moyer kind of outlook, right? Because Jamie Moyer was a junk baller, but just he understood how to pitch the paint. But Spencer Howard's just too young and doesn't get that. He's never going to be that kind of pitcher. So you're right, Joe. His hard contact rate is very high. And it's because of all the pitches, the junk ball pitches and the low speed with which he, approaches the mound. So that's why I'm going against him. And there could be some value in that Washington lineup as well. I'll bring it up real fast. If we look at it, Josh Bell is at 4,000, which he's a home run or bust guy, right? So you have a guy like that that's readily available. I'll tell you what, Starland Castro has been a guy that's always been on my value radar. Him and Josh Harrison and Castro at 3,600, could be a nice play today. Again, consistency, right? 3.2554, not stellar numbers, right? I get it, but 7 to 10 today from Castro, I don't think it's a stretch. And for 3,600, I think that could be very, very feasible. So I like Starland Castro today. I think he could give you some exceptional value. Josh Harrison, another guy, former Philly, right? He didn't play that long in Philadelphia, but he's fought 3.722, nothing crazy, right? Now, I don't know if I would chase his points at 3,700. When he was 3,000, 3,100, okay, low risk, high reward, but 3,700 is above my 3,500 mark. So I think I would lean away from Harrison today, but I would probably go in on Starland Castro, depending on, what lineups that you're looking at. Okay, so let's get back to this core. So you got Juan Soto, you got Tim Anderson. Again, Tim Anderson under 5, I think is great. Juan Soto, 5,400, I still don't think is crazy. And how about my boy Christian Yellets? Christian Yellets has been really finally finding his stroke, okay? Really finding his stroke. And I think Milwaukee's got a pretty good match today. I'm not saying that I would stack them by any means, okay? But what I would do is I would really try to look at that value. Now, they're going up against Merrill Kelly, who, again, you got to look at these pitching matchups, right? You got to look at what they give up. Look at the earned runs, 5.2, 3.32. Home runs, this guy's given up 4 home runs in the past 5 games. He had one game where he had 12 strikeouts, which is pretty impressive against the Los Angeles Dodgers, but he just hasn't been consistent enough to me to be able to think that he's going to consistently put it together. So I think it's a good matchup for Christian Yelich. And if you look at Yelich, look what he did last night. Listen, Yelich is really starting to come into form. I should say 2 nights ago, I'm sorry. We had 22. He's really starting to come into form. And I know his fantasy numbers haven't been great. I get it. Okay, I do understand that. But you have to remember, this guy was in the MVP hunt, Triple Crown hunt, right? So it's just giving him, he's playing at home, giving him that, that extra confidence. And I think today could be a breakout game again for Yelich, okay? So he's been inconsistent, I understand. But when you're facing a guy like Kelly, I think that's the best time to get off the side, so to speak. So I'm going to go with Christian Yelich in my core today. I like the pitching matchup. I know his number's a little high. Why a guy at gives you 3 points, bumps up to 5,500, but I think the number's telling us something. I think they're buying into the Kelly matchup, against Arizona. So I'm going to go Christian Yelich in my core. So my core today, and I know everybody might agree with that, but that's what this is all about. Mix and match, right? So I like Tim Anderson. I think he's a solid core player today. I like Juan Soto, really solid core, and I like Christian Yelich to round it off. I know his number's a little high, but we're just talking about the early slate. I really, really like him a lot. We talked about some value plays. We still have Shoop up there. We have Diaz. Diaz as we'll go the early. How about we do this? The early slate for the weekend's fantasy Firebox value play today. That's what we're going to go by. I really like that. Let's go on to the next 6 games and the late games. We'll go into that. So I'll give you some. Let you know what, real fast before we go on. Let me see if we can find, because I dig the value guys. I really do. I think it's something I pride myself on. So let me go through these hitters in the first slate and see if we can find any more value guys that are under that 4,500 to 4,000 mark that I think are pretty good value for you guys. You got. I know my man Joe was on the Minnesota wagon, and Mike Minor to me. I know he's thrown some good games, but I know he's a lefty, but I think Karloff could be a decent play today, based on that matchup. We'll see. 4,400. His number's been rising, so he needs to do a lot to really stay productive over there. So let's go under 4,000. I'll tell you what. I think you got to still start at Brian Hayes. His number hasn't changed. And I know he's going up against Rogers, which is a really good strikeout pitcher for Miami, but you're playing home and the kid's got confidence, right? The kid's got confidence. I'm throwing him in there, so I remember to write him down as a value play today. I mean, Brian Hayes, he has so many tools. He's young. He's hungry. I mean, look at what he's done. Right, I get he only played 2 games. He popped off at 18, goes out for the injury, comes back with a 13, 25. I mean, listen, multi-hit games. Come on, how do you not boost his value up? So I think you got to pounce on Brian Hayes again. 4,100. I hate this to sound like a broken record, but that's the kind of guy you got to look at. Brian Hayes has to be in there, right? Has to be in there today because his number didn't move. Okay, so another value play today right there, Brian Hayes. Got to go with him. All right, so let's look at the next slate. I'm trying to do both of them, and then we're going to talk about a little D-Hop here. So let's see what the late game slate looks like, and I think this is another with the arms. Okay, I obviously everybody's going to be going in on Jacob deGrom, right? Everybody loves some Jacob deGrom. 11,100. I mean, I don't think it really matters. I know he's going up against San Diego. I really don't. The matchup, I don't think matters for deGrom at all. So, what I will say though, 11-1 is I hate paying 11,000 for a pitcher. I've done it before. Okay, so let me just say, if you don't want to start deGrom and you don't want to buy into Kershaw, there's a couple decent options on a late slate for me that I think could be really valuable. Number one is Musgrove. Listen, it's just strikeouts alone. Okay, Joe Musgrove, and I get it. He's going up against deGrom, and I think the best thing you could hope for, obviously, is the no decision factor. But, Musgrove has been really, really good. Okay, and the Mets lineup has been awful. Right? Except for a couple games here or there. They really haven't been that good. Okay, so I think tonight is more like his 7 to 10 strikeout range instead of his 3 to 5. Okay, so I really think that tonight Musgrove, again, his value is dropping a ton because he hasn't been going late in the games and he hasn't been getting those. Listen, he's only 4 innings, 2 games ago, 5 innings before that. A big cry home from what he was doing earlier, right? Big cry home from what he was doing earlier. So for me, for Musgrove to me today, I think is a really good. He's still got a low ERA. He doesn't give up a lot of hits. He doesn't give up a lot of runs. Okay, doesn't walk a ton either. So and when you're going up against a Mets lineup who has been obviously less than stellar, right? I think this is a really good game. It could be going back and forth between deGrom and Musgrove, which will be good. I can see Musgrove going 7 innings today, striking out 8. Okay, that's 15. Give you your innings pitch. Give you your hits against, your less your outs. I mean, all in all, I think today is an easy 20-point game. And if I can get 20 plus from Joe for 8,700, I think it's a really good value play. And Alex Cobb, I buried Alex Cobb, right? I buried Alex Cobb. But again, I'm gonna jump on Alex Cobb because this is, hey, hats off to Alex Cobb. You proved me wrong, which is fine. Proving me wrong, if that means that I'm going to get positive points from a pitcher, I'm all in. And Alex Cobb has really reverted back the clock. All right. Again, another guy that goes to Los Angeles Angel Land and is doing really well. So again, I'm going to throw these two starts out the window, and I'm just going to look at the last three because they have been consistent. Okay, he's going 99 to 100 2 out of the last 3 games. Okay, he's going 5+, which is a good sign. Hasn't given up a home run in 5 games. Okay, that's really good. And again, he has 16 strikeout, 8 strikeout games for 16 total, 2 out of the last 5. So I think he's really finding his groove. And Seattle as a team average of 216, right? So and he's at home. And Seattle bats much better when they play at Safeco, when they play at home. So I really like Alex Cobb today for the number. Again, for the number. If Alex Cobb was 8,000 to 9,000, I'm not touching Alex Cobb. But for 6,900, I think he could be that guy that gives you exceptional value to help you build a really good core in your lineup. Okay, so again, Musgrove and Cobb, I like them. Sneakily, I like Kevin Gausman. Now, the Cubs have been hitting the cover off the ball. So I know he doesn't have a great matchup when it comes to, going up against a lackluster team by average, but look at these numbers. He's been virtually unhittable, okay, when you think about it. Look at his strike. He's a strikeout pitcher. Everybody remember that. He's a strikeout pitcher. He's 6-0, right? He could have set essentially. I know it's a fantasy show, but think about this. He could potentially be a starter for the All-Star game if we have it, if we don't have whatever we're doing with the All-Star game, right? Because you never know what's going to happen, because we're just finally coming out of the pandemic. And I know it's scheduled and all that, but what I'm saying is you just never know anymore in this world. But let's just, in a perfect world, the All-Star game goes out without a hitch. Kevin Gausman could very much be your starter. Okay, because of what he's been able to do. So 1.40 ERA, 6-0. They took a shot on this guy. 1-year deal, 18. I think they gave him an $18.4 million 1-year deal. He's going to get paid, man. He's going to get paid for San Francisco. So again, he's a guy you could jump on. Maybe you don't like. If you look at it, maybe you don't like the Musgrove pick because he's going up against DeGrom, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go Gausman, right? I think it's a good play. Even if you take him out, he's only plus 200. So you take Musgrove out and you put Kevin Gausman in. Listen, I don't think you skip a beat. You're plus 200, but you can make that up on the back end because we're going to really get into some value plays in a minute that we're going to talk about. So, again, I like 3 pitchers today, and we'll go back. I like Musgrove for 8,700. I like Gausman at 8,900, and I like Alex Cobb for exceptional value at 6,900. So let's go specifically. I like another. You know what? Let me give you another sleeper. Okay, and again, because I like giving these. Rodriguez, to me, for Boston, over the past 6 to 7 games, the New York Yankees have been striking out at a tremendous percentage. Right? I think they are averaging 12 to 15 strikeouts per game over the last 5 or 6. They're a very streaky team right now that they're either all in or all out. And Rodriguez, okay, for Boston, could catch them at the right time because he has good stuff, right? And he's a left-hander. So, when left-handers are on, Rodriguez has been inconsistent, but when he's on, he can be a strikeout pitcher. Okay, 6.69, 3 out of the last 5. He has had really good strikeout numbers. I mean, he has only 6 strikeouts in 4 innings, 6 strikeouts in 5, right? So if he has this command, okay, and against a free swinging team like the Yankees, again, he's only 6,600. So I'm just saying, if you want to take a flyer on somebody, Rodriguez could be your guy today. That's all I'm saying, based on the lack of offense for and the swing rate for the New York Yankees. So let's break down into some hitters here. As again, we always like to build a core, right? We always talk about that. But we built the core for the first end. Let's go through. I think we'll build another core for this end. And I hate to beat a dead horse here, right? Because we do it, right? That's what we do. But how do we not have Matt Olson in our core? In Coors Field against Kyle Freeland. Okay, again, I know it's lefty versus lefty, but Matt Olson has been absolutely crushing the ball. Okay, we had him in last night as one of our picks. Again, no home run, only one home run in the last 5 games, but double-digit fantasy points, 4 in the last 5. Okay, he's smashing the ball. Multi-hit games, 2, 3, 2, 2. I mean, these are what I look at. Look at these columns right here. 3 doubles in the past 5. Okay, look at the runs scored. 1, 2, plus 4. I mean, 6 runs scored, and 6, that's at least 1 run. He's only struck out 3 times. As a power hitter, that's really good numbers. And he's not, look, 1-1, 3-1-1. Filling all those boxes from a power hitter perspective. So Matt Olson today at the Coors Field advantage. I don't think his number is receptive on what he will do. I really don't. I know. I think they made a mistake going from 47 to 5,300. I know me and Joe had talked about, talking about how high it's like a 35% up boost when we're talking about guys playing in Coors Field. So I think they went a little high with the $5,300 number. They dropped to 200. I think that saves you some cash for a value play later. So I like Matt Olson at 5,100. He's going to be a part of my core. Okay, so we're going to talk Matt Olson, part of the core for the late game slate, only 6 games. Okay, now we're going to go down the list because I think this core, there's only 6 games. I don't think there's a ton on here. Honestly, I don't think there's a ton. I'm going to go JD Martinez from Boston. Okay, I'm going to go against Talion because I think Talion, again, if you look at, I pull it up because this is what I look at. I tell you people why I pick who I pick, right? James Talion is still trying to find his way. Okay, hasn't been electric at all. He's 1-4. I don't care about the record. He's sporting a +5 ERA. Okay, look at the home runs though. Look at the home runs. That's what I'm looking at. 2, 4, 5 home runs in 6 games. Walking a ton. All right. Look, hits given up. 5, 2, 6, 6, 3. Isn't going deep in games, right? So what does that preach to you, right? Preach power. Give me a couple power guys, right? So obviously you have power guys in Boston. Okay. So, Bogarts to me, really good value at under 5,000. But JD Martinez, I think this is my time to get him in for the long ball today. Okay. He hasn't hit a home run in the past 5 games. Actually, oh my man, if you look at it, he hasn't hit a home run in a while. Okay. So this is the day. This is the day. And, I'm telling you right now, this is the day. JD Martinez, he going to be in my core today. Okay, he is 100% going to be in my core. He's multi-hit game in 3 of the last 5. He has 3 doubles in 3 of the last 5. So the power's coming. People, the power is coming, and I'm thinking it's coming today against a guy who's given up 5 home runs in the last 6 games. So for me, that just says basically you're giving out a home run a day. And I don't think it's going to be Bogarts. I don't think it's going to be Devers. I think it's going to be Martinez. So Martinez is going to be in my core. So I'm going Matt Olson. I'm going JD Martinez 100% in my core today. Now, what we need to do, though, is, how I think, people, we got to find that guy, okay, that's going to give you multiple points, not just a power guy. Who is going to be that guy in our core? So right now, we have Olsen, who hasn't had the power numbers, but he's doing a lot. So he's giving you persistent points, which is 10 plus is what we want. But I think today against Freeland, the left-on-left matchup, and in the friendly confines of the mile-high air, I think Olsen goes long today. I do. And I think that with the matchup against Talion, that JD Martinez gets back off the snide, and he goes long as well. So I'm all in on Martinez today. So I'm going to put Mlb Dfs in our core for R3 because, again, I'm looking at the pitching matchup. Charlie Morton is a hard-throwing guy who makes mistakes. He does. He'll give you 10 strikeouts, but he'll give up 7 hits, right? So I think Mlb Dfs is in a really good spot today to do it all. I do. I like him because, again, I want a guy in my core that's going to steal a bag, that's going to walk, knock a couple RBIs in, get a couple hits, maybe a double, maybe even a triple. Okay, score some runs, and I think that's the kind of day it'll be for the Los Angeles Dodgers and Mookie Betts. So Mookie Betts in my late game core right there for that reason. So core, we go Mookie Betts, we go JD Martinez, and we go Matt Olson. So before we flip the football, let's talk some value plays. And I'm going to give you another fantasy Firebox value play today. We're going to go two. We're going to do first ever because I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. I don't care if I crash and burn or not. Bringing the heat tonight. We're going to go, again, we talked about Diaz as our first fantasy Firebox value play today in the first half of the slate. Let's go to second slate. And I'm going to give you a fantasy Firebox value play today, $3,100. Okay, Donovan Solano from the San Francisco Giants. Now, again, there's a lot of rhyme or reason behind these picks for me, but the main thing is I look at consistency for value. Okay, and I look at the pitching matchups. I look at the home and away splits. I look at it all. And right now, Gabe Kapler, for me, has really got this team balling. I got, this has nothing to do with my pick, but I just gotta, we killed him. We absolutely killed him, right? But he has got this team believing. One thing that Gabe Kapler's never done is lack confidence. And he's never lacked positivity preaching. And that, he may have been annoying and you may not like what his style was, but he's got these kids playing well, man. He's got Buster Posey balling out there, Evan Longoria balling. We just talked about Kevin Gausman, who's been exceptional for them, holding down the rotation. But I got a matchup today against the Chicago Cubs and against Cole Stewart, only making his second start, right? So I get what he did. He's not a starter. Okay, again, they have to do this because of the IL. But Cole Starter is slated to start the game today. A relief pitcher putting in starter innings, right? He did go 5 innings last game. I'll give it to him, right? He struck out a couple guys. He didn't give up any runs, right? I get it, but I'm not sold. It's one game. And again, we talk about this all the time. Before they have film on a specific pitcher, how are they going to adjust? And again, I don't know if he gives up a ton of runs, but I think he's very hittable. Okay. And when I look at that, that's why I bring up Solano, because I look at what Solano's done in the past 5 games, 7, 4, 5, 5, 8. And again, low risk, high reward. He's 3,100. Right? 3,100. These are the kind of value plays that I really like. I don't listen, when I had Jonathan India, I did not expect him to hit a home run. Okay, but what I'm saying is all I expect is Solano to do, give me a double, give me a couple runs scored, walk, an RBI, give me 7, 8 points, and again, I'm good with it. So again, my baseline for these fantasy value plays, fantasy Firebox value plays of the day are anywhere, I'm guaranteeing that I want 7 to 10. That's what I want. Okay, but if I get higher than 10, man, I'm on a roll. I like it. So that's where I look at it. And a lot of people are like, I said, yeah, but do me a favor. Go at 3,000. Take your filter on DraftKings. Go to 32 to 3,000, 3,200 to 3,000. Show me how many guys give you consistent 5 to 7 points, consistent 6 to 8 points. Name them for me. I guarantee you there's not going to be a ton. So when people want to come in and say, oh, your baseline's only 7 to 10, you have no idea what I'm talking about. You have to look at the number. That's why I'm preaching to everybody. You have to look at the number, and you have to look at the low risk. If you're good enough, right? This is the thing with DFS. If you're good enough picking the right pitchers and the right core, this $3,100 is not going to hurt you, only going to help you. That's what you have to look at. So for me, FFV play of the day, second slate, Donovan Solano, San Francisco Giants. I love it. I love it. So we're going Diaz in the first slate. We're going Solano in the second slate. So again, power pick. We got Woodruff. We got Berrios as the second 2 guys for the late game slate. We have them, and for the early game slate and for the late game slate, we got Gausman and Cobb. And, maybe Musgrove, depending on what you like, right? Depending on what you like, it's a $200 difference, whatever tickles your fancy, so to speak, which my mom used to say. So, and the core for the late slate of the 6 games is going to be Matt Olson, is going to be JD Martinez and Mookie Betts. And we got Donovan Solano, 3,100 as our fantasy Firebox value play today. And some value. Let's look at some value real fast. One of the guys that stood out to me was Kyle Seeger. Okay, I think his numbers drop consistently. I know he's going up against Alex Cobb, a guy I have in the lineup, but I think Seeger for 3,500 is a really good play. Again, he hasn't been setting the world on fire, but he's got 2 goose eggs, but he does have a 24 and a 12. So, he does have power. He does have the ability to flip the switch, right? So he's only batting 212. I get it, and he's striking out a lot, but 3,500, I think, is decent value today against Alex Cobb, because even though Alex Cobb is going to give me some good strikeout numbers and still, I think, give you some good value at 6,900, he is going to let up a couple hits, and I think some of those hits will go to Kyle Seeger today. So 3,500 to me, I think, is a really good play. So let's go down the list and see if we can find any good values for under 4,000. Anybody? I'll tell you what, Jared Walsh continues to get no love. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'll tell you, I'm a big Jared Walsh guy. He just produces. So he gives you a 14, okay, and it only gives you a 3, but you drop it down from 4,900 to 40. You're dropping down 800 points. I'm sorry. I'm jumping in on Jared Walsh for 4,100. I think he's a really good play today. Great value. I like him a lot in that slot. Again, I know he's a lot of first base options, but I think he's a good value play for 4,100. When I see that value drop, it sets off some beams in me and says, "Yo, what's going on here?" Right? So let's look at a couple more value plays. See if we have anybody that we can really. Yeah, Brandon Crawford to me is another guy. He was a value play to me yesterday. He was at 3,700. He only went up 100, to 3,800 against Cole Stewart, who, again, not setting the world on fire. Young pitcher, only second game started. So again, I like Brandon Crawford today. I just think, listen, the last 2 games, he's 36 points in 2 games, and he's only 3,800. I think he give you some good, consistent numbers, especially today with that pitching matchup. So Brandon Crawford to me, again, would be another value play. I like him. And what about Anthony Rendon sitting at 3,900? What do you guys think about him? I know he's not having a great year, but I look at that, and I know the Angels are basically, listen, Mike Trout's been out, so that lineup's kind of like been all over the place. Ohtani has been really good. He remains, you read it right there, remains without a home run in his 19 games since returning from the injured list May 14th. Eventually, Anthony Rendon is going to break out, and he's getting into that territory. He's getting into that Joey Gallo territory where he doesn't hurt you if you're trying to get a long ball. He's under 4,000. So today at 3,900, Anthony Rendon, I'm going to pick him for going long under 4,000 today. We put those guys out there going long for under 4,000. I think today Rendon is absolutely one of those guys. Rendon is going long for under 4,000, right? Let's throw him in there. Going long for under 4,000, Rendon. And let's go down a list a little bit, see if we can find any more value before we wrap this up. Justin Upton to 3,500 could be a decent value. Depending on what you look at, right? Depending on what you look at, Coors Field advantage, dual eligible, Brandon Rogers. Again, I'm just going by the last 2 games. He's got 17 points. He's not going to cost you much. Somebody's going to have to hit the ball a little bit, right? So, dual eligibility, maybe you take a flyer on a guy like Brandon Rogers. I don't know. But again, he consistent points the last 2 games, and he's really, really cheap. Not a ton of guys in this. Here's a guy I keep looking at, but I know, you know what? No, I'm not going against him. Here's I'm going to throw a guy out here right now. It's going to be Hunter Renfroe. I'm going to throw Hunter Renfroe out here. I'm going to give Hunter Renfroe a bone. 3,200. These are the guys I like right here. Consistent value. There's that word consistent again. 5'7", 7'7", 21 for 3,200. How can you beat it? How? 3,200. You can't beat that, in my opinion. Okay. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to look at that $3,200 number. Okay. And I'm going to say I'm all in on Hunter Renfroe today as a value play against James Talion. 3,200. I don't think you can beat that. You know, maybe you get a sneaky stack of JD Martinez and Hunter Renfroe, or Xander Bogaerts and Hunter Renfroe. But for 3,200, you know, he's giving you that. Again, I said 7 to 10 is a baseline, right? So, if, you know, I know you got to find there, but I think today you could be double digits. I do. I think today could be double digits. It's a day game. I'm sorry. It's a night game. Yankee Stadium, right? Against a pitcher that gives up a lot of long balls, which is why I have JD Martinez in there. I'm not saying that he's going to hit a long ball tonight, but I think Renfroe could get a hold of a couple pitches, and whether it be a double, triple, whatever it may be, extra base hit tonight for Hunter Renfroe, knocking a couple runs, give me my 7 to 10 baseline, maybe hit double digits for 3,200. So I like Hunter Renfroe a lot. Okay. So there's some good value. I think we did well today with the good value plays. Listen, we are about an hour in. I don't like to go longer than an hour because I think people lose interest, which is rightfully so. I get it. So what we're going to do is let's go and we will talk NFL tomorrow. Okay, Sunday. So I like to do on Sundays because it's an early slate. It's really hard to bang out a lot of great plays because Sundays are family days, and it's really hard to, you know, hurry up and watch a show and get some picks before those 1 o'clock lock-in times. So, you know, tomorrow I like to do a little review of what we had from today. And then I also like to do some football. So tomorrow will be football centric. We'll talk wide receivers. You know, bring your comments. You know, hit me up on Twitter. You know, if anything you're thinking, hit me up at Discord. I want to talk about wide receiver projections, top 5 wide receivers this year, early projections in NFL. Talk about some sleepers here and there, and why DeAndre Hopkins gets no love. But again, as always, Fantasy Firebox, Tony Cutillo, give me a follow at TCutillo23. Okay, that's where you can find me on Twitter. At Win Daily Sports, you can find all of us, all of our talent out there. A lot of talented individuals that live, breathe, and sleep fantasy football, fantasy golf, fantasy NASCAR, fantasy baseball, basketball, you name it. They go like 9 for 9, and I absolutely love it. I'm really happy to be part of the team. Again, make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube right now and you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when myself and everybody else goes live. But this is a Fantasy Firebox every Saturday and Sunday between about 9 and 9:15. We go about an hour. I appreciate everybody chiming in. It's been fantastic. You got it. I'm going a month now doing the Win Daily team, and it's been nothing but positivity, man. And I absolutely love it. So again, Fantasy Firebox value to play. Let's get that going, everybody. FFVP. We are 4 for 4. Today we're looking at Diaz and Solano to go 5 for 5. Let's make it happen. Again, Win Daily Sports. It's Saturday, Fantasy Firebox. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we will catch you tomorrow morning.